God's back. Have you ever wanted a sign from God? I remember one day I was driving down the road and I was asking the Lord, I said, Lord, show me a sign because I have many decisions to make. Have you ever wished that God would just write something on the sky and say, this is what you must do? But you know, there's somebody just like us who wanted a sign from the Lord. And he's found in Scripture in the book of Exodus chapter 33, and that is Moses. So go with me to Exodus chapter 33 and verse 13. Moses wants a sign from the Lord. So he says, now therefore, I pray, if I have found grace in your sight, show me now your way, that I may know you and that I may find grace in your sight. And consider that this nation is your people. But here's the question I have for you. Notice that this is Moses speaking, and this is in Exodus chapter 33, not Exodus chapter 3 or 4. And yet Moses, out of anybody in Scripture who you would think had seen signs, it would have been Moses. He saw a burning bush. As a matter of fact, he saw the Red Sea split in two. He saw water come out of a rock. He saw the presence of God in the day and at night. Yet God and Moses, especially Moses, is still pleading for God to show him a sign of his leading. It is interesting what God answers to Moses. He says in verse 14, and he said to Moses, my presence will go with you, and I will give you rest. Moses was offered something better than a sign. He was offered the guidance and the presence of God. Let me ask you a question. If you went into a new campus, a new university campus, and would you rather have somebody give you a map or one of your friends tell you, let me show you the way, who knows very well this campus? Or maybe you moved into a new neighborhood. Would you rather have a map of the neighborhood, or would you have a friend in the neighborhood tell you, let me show you around, introduce you to the neighbors? You see, God offered Moses something better than just a temporary sign. He offered him his presence. And whatever you're going through in your life, God is offering to you today his presence. But you know what? We still want our sign. And Moses is still the same. He still pleads with God to show him a sign. As a matter of fact, he says to God, he says, show me your glory. Show me your glory. But God tells Moses in verse 21, he says, and the Lord said, here is a place by me, and you shall stand on the rock. But what he even says before then in verse 20, but he said, you cannot see my face, for no man shall see me and live. But God has a solution. He knows that if he shows his full glory to Moses, that Moses will die. But Moses, being a human being, still wants his sign, so God says, I will show you a sign. And God gives Moses the best sign one could ever ask. In verse 23 it says, then I will take away my hand, and you shall see my back, but my face you shall not see. God showed Moses his back. And the reason why that is the best sign we could ever receive is because as long as we see God's back, we realize that God has been leading all along. It has been my experience when I think of my life, that when I look back, I see that God writes the best stories, and he wants to write the best story for you. Lean on God, and he will give you rest.